Review copy provided by PlayStation.
Here, androids are free. Free to live in the dark, hoping that no one finds us. Free to die in silence, waiting for a change that's never gonna come. But I don't want that freedom. And I'm not gonna beg for the right to smile, or love, or stand tall. I don't know about you, but there's something inside me that knows that I am more than what they say.
For more than a dozen years, Quantic Dream is focused on creating branching narrative adventures with advancements in performance capture and facial animation. Detroit: Become Human is a natural progression of the company's distinctive style. It doesn't break away from the familiar core values and gameplay mechanics, but refines them and expands on the level of choice given to the player. Detroit: Become Human takes place in 2038, exploring the broader narrative of how society will adapt to the use of androids in everyday life, becoming as common as mobile phones today. For all the benefits androids can bring, potential downsides such as faltering relationships and rising unemployment are considered, as well as the central question of whether androids can gain consciousness and be considered living beings. The subject matter has been covered many times before, and there's little that's surprising about Detroit's themes or moral questions. Furthermore, there are a handful of times when its subject matter can feel a little on the nose, such as having androids ride in a separate compartment at the back of the bus. However, Detroit is much more effective in the personal stories and dramatic development of its characters as androids begin to exhibit deviancy, expressing emotions, free will, and even violence. Kara serves a troubled father, and she's left with the choice of whether to obey his commands or protect his daughter from abuse. Marcus comes from the other side of the economic spectrum, caring for an elderly artist who actively encourages him to think for himself. Meanwhile, Connor is a prototype android detective working with a human partner to investigate crime scenes in order to find out why androids are suddenly becoming deviants. All three characters feel interesting and relevant, each going on their own distinct journeys.
Well, stayed easy and wasn't worth calling everybody out in the middle of the night. Could have waited till morning.
The growth, development, and conclusions of their stories are strong, though there's certainly a little sleight of hand to make some plot devices work. More importantly, while there are a fair number of surprises along the way, these moments still feel natural in the overall direction of the story. Detroit never falls victim to the extreme curveballs of past Quantic Dream titles.
Goddamn machine! Where is it this time?
Gameplay is very much in line with the developer's previous works, employing a mix of investigation, mundane slices of life, and split-second choices. Since you're always in control of an android, you're able to scan rooms to highlight objects of interest. Interactions employ a variety of controller inputs, often meant to mimic real-life actions in tactile ways. It's not a huge problem, but character and camera movement are a bit stiff. Likewise, using the right analog stick for both item interaction and camera controls can occasionally lead to misread intentions.
Listen, you should go before things get worse.
Characters also have more specific ways of examining visual data. In Connor's investigations, analyzing clues can allow him to produce wireframe reconstructions of the events in crime scenes, leading to further evidence. Similarly, Marcus can parkour over dangerous obstacles by creating simulations of potential routes before taking the optimal path. Detroit's biggest strength is the sense of choice provided through its robust branching storyline. You alternate between the three main characters in scenes that last from 15 minutes to a half an hour long, and there's a mind-boggling amount of variation in even a single scene. Major decisions can lead you to vastly different outcomes, and small choices can ripple throughout the rest of the game. Connor's opening rooftop investigation alone can end 6 different ways, and it's one of the simplest of the bunch. Meanwhile, if you find a gun while Kara cleans house, you'll get the option to retrieve it when her owner becomes violent. There are numerous ways to reach the end, and even some entire scenarios are reserved to certain choices.
Stay back!
While you can technically reload a chapter at any time, the game encourages you to stick with your choices to the end of your first playthrough. The resulting tension is palpable, creating moments when you feel like you've completely blown a situation or barely made it. That tension is consistent throughout as you're constantly presented with choices and dialogue options. You're not only deciding matters of life and death, but your decisions often affect your level of trust with other characters, whether it's someone you're trying to interrogate or a partner that you really need to have your back. Trying to gain someone's trust or avoid suspicion can have you at the edge of your seat. In more action-oriented scenes, you likewise have to be at the ready to make split-second calls or engage in quick-time events to fend off attackers.
Watch out, Kara!
Come here, bitch.
You can't always tell what consequences will come from your choices, and something that seems like a mistake may work itself out in the end. These types of unforeseen results are welcome. Our only problem comes with a handful of moments when dialogue options can be a little vague, prompting our character to say something that doesn't at all match what we intended. Illustrating the variety of routes your journey can take are flowcharts that appear at the end of each chapter. Once you're done with the full story, it's fascinating to go back in an attempt to reach all of the different outcomes of a specific scene. However, since each flowchart includes even minor interactions like reading magazine articles and reaching every possible fail state, it probably isn't worth it to try to fill in every single branch.
Hello. Welcome to the Detroit Experience. I'm an android and I'll be your hostess.
The faces of Quantic Dream titles have lost their wow factor, but not their importance. The models are incredibly detailed, capturing the performance of each actor in ways that feel natural and relatable. There's still a bit of stiffness, particularly in the lips, and children look more artificial than the adults, but when you discover characters hiding for their lives, you can see the fear in their eyes. The environments aren't as impressive, but are filled with details illustrating this vision of life just 20 years from today. Meanwhile, the musical score is a solid cinematic effort, with each main character handled by a different composer, setting the tone. In all, the main story takes roughly 12 to 15 hours to complete, but you can spend more than twice that experimenting with alternate outcomes. You can also unlock some nice special features, including concept art, character models, behind-the-scenes videos, and samples from the soundtrack, complete with liner notes.
Tell that helicopter to get out of here! I don't think they'd listen to me!
With complex characters and an impressive branching plot that emphasizes choice and consequence, Detroit Become Human keeps you invested in your own story and makes you eager to see what other possibilities you might have missed. It's Quantic Dream's strongest interactive tale so far.
Why don't you find something to do while I finish my breakfast?
Sure. Okay, Carl.
On the other hand, last night, the American ambassador again informed an emergency meeting of the UN.
Easy Allies reviews are made possible by generous viewers just like you. If you like what you see, check out patreon.com/easyallies to see our other videos. And consider becoming a patron to help us make more.
That's what I call a thorough beating. It's not easy for an old man to compete with a machine.
Review copy provided by PlayStation.